Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Now, health systems across the world are extending beyond their limits to literally save the world from the ravaging corona pandemic. So far, there are over 500,000 confirmed cases worldwide and more than 25,000 deaths recorded. Now, bringing it back home, the disease has found its way into at least 8 states in Nigeria, including the Federal Capital Territory, with cases numbering more than 60. Sadly, the country has also recorded its first death in the 67-year-old man who had returned to the country after medical treatment in the United Kingdom. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control says he had underlying medical conditions like multiple myeloma and diabetes and was actually undergoing chemotherapy. Already, governments at all levels have taken measures to stop the spread of the disease. Public servants have been issued a stay-at-home order, and in Lagos State, for instance, where the highest case has been recorded, the government has ordered a partial lockdown and closure of all non-essential markets. Other states, including those without any case at all, have also followed suit with similar measures. In addition, some local airlines have also suspended flight operations, and many more Nigerians have now been forced to stay indoors. Let's discuss the pandemic further. I'm now being joined on the program by David Brown, who is an international consultant, and he's also the managing partner for D. Brown Consulting. He's an international consultant to the World Bank, as well as a Microsoft valuable professional on data analytics. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, we can see how rapidly this pandemic is spreading, especially in Nigeria. From the 27th of February, when we had the first reported case, we're now hitting over 50. Are you surprised that we're having this rapid spread?
Not really, no, because if you had looked at Wuhan in China, you would have seen that it's an exponential growth. I mean, the cases grow exponentially. Especially if nothing is done.
Now, we know you've designed the model that basically tracks the spread of this disease. Could you shed more light on that model that you've designed?
Okay, there are actually 2 models. One model is a data model using Power BI, which is a Microsoft data analytic tool. So it's just pulling data from GitHub, which is a data repository, and is also pulling data from other sources to show the current status of cases, deaths worldwide. So you can get that online. So that's just live online.
We can see that.
And then also we kind of built a model to just forecast, a simple model really, to help forecast how the virus could spread. Because there are certain facts that we know, for example, that once you have reported cases, let's say you have reported cases of 10, the actual cases could be much more than that, because obviously they're reported when they've done testing, and not many people are doing testing. So the reported cases are usually much less than the actual cases. So Harvard did a study, and they saw that when you have reported cases, it's most likely times 50 for the actual cases, if you want to get an estimate. So if you take 20 people, and the model is there, people can download it and check it. 20 people means that reported cases means actual 1,000 cases. And the virus is exponential growth, so every 3 days the virus doubles. The number of people, the number of cases could double every 3 days. So if you have 1,000 cases, and in 3 days' time you have 2,000, another 3 days, 4,000. So in 30 days, that means that doubling will happen 10 times. And doubling happening 10 times, 2 raised to the power 10, simple maths, 1,024. So that means your 1,000 cases just multiplied by 1,024. So in 30 days, when absolutely nothing is done, you could have 1 million cases. That's from just 20 reported cases, which translates to about 1,000 actual cases, which these are just estimates. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. But if you don't practice social distancing, for example, that means that exponential growth will go. It continues.
And talking about social distancing,
then maybe one person...
Yes, sorry to interject you. Talking about social distancing now, it's something that appears to be very difficult here. Even when the government is advising people to maintain that 2-meter distance, people basically are not heeding the advice at all. I mean, you go around Lagos, for instance, you see people living as normally as if nothing is wrong. So, how difficult do you think the government can?
Lion. Sorry, how? Didn't get that.
Yeah, I mean, how difficult do you think it will be to practice social distancing here?
Extremely difficult. We're human beings, but we don't practice social distancing. We're close. We have friends. We hug. We clap. We shake. We smile with everybody. We sit down and eat with people. You can't sit down next to your wife to eat, for example. I mean, but the bigger issue is, this is an enemy which I think Trump said is an invisible enemy. So when you have an invisible enemy, your adrenaline doesn't really go spiked up for you to kind of use it to protect yourself. If a lion jumps in front of us right now, of course, we will move. But this deadly thing is invisible. So the whole world will react to it in different ways. And some countries have already made it strict regardless. So.
Now, talking about a lockdown, Lagos is now in a partial lockdown. Do you think, we should just move straight to a total lockdown in order to check this? Because going by the analysis you gave earlier, there's every likelihood that we may have more than has been reported at the moment.
Well, there are two options there. And for the cases, I would just say that the only way you could have the real numbers is if we do testing. So South Korea did testing. South Korea, the basis for testing, you can just go online, check out what South Korea did. They did massive testing, and that really helped them control the virus. Now, there are two main ways to treat this as a country. And this is studies from The Economist. So you can either suppress it, you have the suppressive way, or you mitigate it. So the suppression is what most countries are going through, complete lockdown. And of course, Wuhan in China, they locked down the entire city for 2 months. So they have data on that. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to these two methods. So suppression means that your immune system, you don't get it, right? Everybody's locked down. And we're trying to kill the virus so it goes. Imagine if the virus comes back after 2 months. So that means people's immune system are not allowed to fight it. So it just means over again. We're just starting all over again. So that's the risk of suppression. The mitigation, you're saying, okay, who are the highest risk people? The old, the ones with pre-existing conditions, and you basically isolate them and ensure that you protect them from the virus. Everybody else will probably, their immune system, they may get it. Some people may not even know they have it because their immune system kicks in and they're immune until we get an antivirus, until we get a vaccine. So once you're buying time, but no system, we don't know which will work best, but those are the two options available.
So what do you make of the issue of a total lockdown for a city like Lagos, for instance?
It's going to be extremely difficult. You have to understand that most Lagosians feed every day. They work to eat, so to say. So if they don't work for a week, it's going to be extremely hard. So unlike probably you and I that probably have some reserves, most people unfortunately don't have reserves. So there has to be some concerted efforts to ensure that while the lockdown still happens, people can get the necessary things they need to live. So it's a whole effort. Everybody needs to pitch in for this to work.
It's a tough one, isn't it, for all of us?
Yeah, it really is a tough one. And a silver lining is the world is now realizing that we're all humans. It affects us. There's no border. The virus didn't get a visa to come into Nigeria. I mean, it didn't cross the border. It just came. So this is an invisible enemy that the whole world is fighting at the same time. And hopefully the lessons we learn during this, once it's all over, and how we should be community, kindness, and all the silly wars going on all over the world, maybe we can see how useless they are, and something invisible can wipe us out. So maybe that will make us be better, get a better world out of this.
Absolutely true. Let me just quickly ask you this before I let you go. We've heard President Trump, for instance, consistently describe COVID-19 as a Chinese disease. He keeps repeating that, even when people make the effort to correct him. But he keeps... What do you make of that?
Well, the thing is, the first SARS, COVID-19, coronavirus, COVID just means coronavirus, so COVID, coronavirus disease. 19 means 2019. In fact, the real name of the virus now, I think the World Health Organization has come out with SARS-CoV-2. So SARS Corona 2, so to say. SARS is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, and the first occurrence of it was in China. So this is the second iteration, although there's MERS as well, which was the Middle East version of SARS. Those two didn't cause as much chaos. So this V2 of SARS, of course, again, originating in China. Yes, but it's unfortunate. I mean, China has 1 point how many billion people? So the likelihood of something originating in China is very high. But I think it would be unfair to call it a China virus. It's affecting the entire world. It's a virus. And China took measures that I don't think any other country in the world can take. Suppressed it, closed down a whole country, a whole city that's larger than most countries. And at least now their cases, I think, have dropped to zero. They have 0 new cases. We can learn a lot from them, not labeling, not naming. We should just learn from them. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, David Brown, international consultant, and of course a consultant to the World Bank, and the managing partner of the Brown Consulting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that panel.
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.